A very good morning and welcome to First Look Asia. I'm Lance Alexander. It's Monday, 27th of March. It's a big day for us all here on Channel News Asia.
Yes, I'm Teresa Tang. Lance is absolutely right. It's a very big day for us here. We're coming to you live from our brand new studio right here from One North in Singapore. And we're so excited to be here. We can't wait to show you around. Our colleague and our friend, Adam Bakhtiar, is on standby to take us all on a tour of our brand new facility. Adam, where exactly are you this morning?
Hey guys, a very good morning to the both of you. What an exciting day to be in our brand new building. It's certainly been a long time coming and we are finally here. Now I'm just outside the Mediacorp campus as Channel News Asia kicks off its first day here. And as impressive as the studio looks, I wanted to take our viewers back to where it all began.
In 2011, Mediacorp broke ground and laid the foundation for change. After 60 years at Caldecott Broadcast Centre, we have moved to our new home, the Mediacorp campus at One North. Spanning 800,000 square feet, this 12-story building houses almost 3,000 employees. But we didn't just break ground, we broke barriers. For the very first time, the entire Mediacorp group is under one roof. Everything from action to animation, documentaries to drama, comedy to culture. And that's where the MES Theatre comes in, a state-of-the-art 1,500-seat theatre, the only one in the region that is broadcast ready. The open architecture of the Mediacorp campus reflects our mantra. We've opened the doors, broken down the walls, and reinvented the way media operates, fostering innovation, collaboration, and the sharing of knowledge in the digital age.
And Adam Bakhtiar joins us now in studio. Hey.
Wow, man.
That was a great show and tell of what this facility is all about.
This building is absolutely remarkable. I mean, when I was assigned this project, I was thinking this is a great opportunity to sort of explore the building from the interior, the exterior, the whole entire thing. And it's just so impressive. And I realize it's massive. I mean, you could actually get lost in this place. It's sort of nooks and crannies everywhere. Yeah, exactly. But, you know, I did a little bit of research into, of course, the architect behind it. It was designed by Maki & Associates, which is an award-winning Japanese architect. And Fumihiko Maki himself was, you know, he's a respected architect in Japan, done lots of buildings, museums, national exhibition centers, and one particular building as well in New York, in fact, one of the first buildings in the redevelopment of the World Trade Center Park, you know, which is 16 acres, a 72-tower building, and a similar theme to the Mediacorp building. So, you know, it's very impressive.
Yeah, well, I love it, you know, and I'm happy as well that we're not keeping it all to ourselves because we're sharing it. I believe in the second quarter of 2017, we're opening it up to the public. They can come around for tours. There's also a mock-up studio where they'll be able to pretend to be newscasters and maybe, who knows, future newscasters in the process.
Impressive on the inside and the outside. My taxi drivers keep saying, you work in that spaceship. I said, yes, that's exactly where I work. And it's so large, you mentioned, Adam. The campus can fit 12 football fields inside of it. That's just astounding.
Absolutely massive. And, you know, the building, it looks impressive from the corner. I mean, when you saw the opening shot there where I opened the show, it looks like a ship piercing through the water, right? And you can see on the outside here, and it looks like it's just plowing through the waters there. And great open spaces. If you look at all the green there, it engages with the public. So it's not just, of course, for us. I mean, we're lucky because we get to work in this brand new building, and it's so impressive. Because when you think about it, I mean, what media network around the world can invest in this sort of building and technology in today's day and age? Because it's difficult.
Yeah, speaking of green, this building is very eco-friendly, efficient air conditioning, and also there's so many light shafts that brings in natural light into where we work.
I love the newsroom. It's huge.
Oh, it's
you know, it just goes on forever.
Yeah.
You know, I call out to you. And I've got to walk there. It takes me about a minute to get to you.
Well, you might never find me as well. It's pretty big. No, but it's great because it's the first time that the entire Mediacorp family, all of the newsrooms, the different platforms, we've got digital, TV, radio, print, everybody is under one roof. So there's, a lot of synergy you can get from that. I mean, you can interact with just about everybody from every platform, right? Which I think is important in this day and age, particularly in sort of the multimedia news business, right?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the 1,500 seat capacity state-of-the-art theaterette. It's going to be fantastic to host local and international acts. So that's something I'm looking forward to actually going and seeing someone perform.
Again, we're very lucky, but we also welcome members of the public to come in, check out what we have to offer.
Second quarter of 2017.
You know, a lot of people actually over the weekends, I've been here on the weekends and you see people, outside and dining out in the cafes. So it's good that they use the place as sort of a public place and engages with everybody.
Yes, Adam,
Excellent.
Thank you so much. You're going to be back later in the show
will.
with business news, so we will see you a little later on. Thank you. But first, let's get our viewers caught up with the morning's top stories. Malaysia to decide soon on what to do with the body of Kim Jong-nam. Malaysian police reportedly entered the North Korean embassy on Sunday.
Worries of a storm surge in northern Queensland as thousands prepare for the worst with Cyclone Debbie.
Hong Kong's next leader, Carrie Lam, to thank the people for her election victory today. She has promised a more inclusive style of governance.
2 technicians arrested over a malfunctioning escalator in Hong Kong that injured nearly 20 people.
Also on the show, uncommon highs and extreme lows. 60 million people globally suffer from bipolar disorder. So what's it like to be on this emotional roller coaster your entire life? We'll find out later.
We're watching as well this hour. It'll be the first Armed Forces Day since Aung San Suu Kyi's party took power last year.
And it will be significant if she attends and even more if she doesn't, with the military still holding so much power in the country.
We begin with one of our top stories. Thousands in the northern Australian state of Queensland have been ordered to evacuate as Tropical Cyclone Debbie approaches the coast. It's expected to make landfall tomorrow morning. That's Tuesday, possibly a Cat 5 cyclone that is extremely dangerous with widespread destruction.
Emergency services are preparing for the worst. Evacuation orders have been issued for coastal communities directly in the firing line of the storm. And they include Bowen, Prospersvine, and Ayr. They have been told to leave by 10 a.m. local time today. That's 8 a.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong.
Met station people have been saying that the storm is approaching the North Queensland coast, bringing with it 280 km/h winds, heavy rain and high tides too. As of 4 a.m. This morning, the storm was about 400 kilometers off the coast.
Debbie is expected to cross the coast early tomorrow morning as a Category 4 system, but could further intensify to Category 5. Residents have been urged to take all necessary precautions and prepare their homes.
In Townsville, locals have been stocking up on fuel, batteries and food. They have also put sandbags against the buildings and taped up their windows. Weather officials are warning that the cyclone will be the worst to hit Queensland since Yasi in 2011.
I've been in 3 cyclones before, but this one's made me a little nervous.
Why's that?
Because it's bigger than the ones I've been in. It could be a Category 4 and it's heading directly for us.
Yeah, that's a big worry. We've got obviously some people very concerned about this, and let's see whether we can bring up some tweets on what they're saying. And this one's from Ellen. We are with the people that will be affected by Cyclone Debbie. Hope the insurance companies are. So hoping that obviously if their places are insured that they'll get support and money in case anything happens
that will
to
be
their
a
homes.
big issue post-storm. Christine saying the Townsville sky looks eerily similar to the sky before Cyclone Larry. And this is, I think, a time where a lot of people are thinking back to previous natural disaster type situations, and they're thinking, not again.
Yeah, no, I've been to that area, the Whitsundays. It's such a beautiful, beautiful area. And, you know, it's hopefully not going to be devastated by the cyclone. North Queensland is getting hammered by Cat 4 cyclone Debbie. They're saying it could go up to Cat 5. We're not entirely sure. Winds excess of 200 km/h, worst one since Yasi. A lot of people talking about that comparison.
And one more for you from Julie. My prayers go out for all the people with Cyclone Debbie on her cranky way. Looks like it could be a big one. Stay safe. And there are voluntary evacuation orders in some areas. And you might be wondering, why would someone willingly stay in their homes when they know they're in the path of danger? But often people have pets. You're not allowed to bring your pets to these rescue evacuation centers, and so they'd rather stay behind.
Yeah, because I saw one rescue center that did take in a couple of dogs, so I'm not sure. But, you know, some people believe they can fight this sort of thing, which could be a bit silly. Now, your thoughts shared with us on Twitter. Remember to use the hashtag #FirstLookAsia.
Well, back in Asia, Malaysia will decide soon on what to do about the body of Kim Jong-nam, the late half-brother of North Korea's leader. Possibly today, the revelation came from the health minister.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has been, and the Prime Minister's Department, they have been discussing with various parties, including the North Korean government. So they probably have made some decision, I'm told.
Local media reported that Malaysian police was in the North Korean embassy in Kuala Lumpur for more than 2 hours on Sunday. That they were allowed to enter was seen as a sign that a preliminary agreement may have been reached on processing the body of Kim Jong-nam, who was poisoned at Kuala Lumpur International Airport just last month.
It's also possible some agreement was reached on taking statements from 3 suspected accomplices in the murder, believed to be hiding in the embassy. Also on Sunday, Mr. Kim's body may have been moved from the morgue of Kuala Lumpur Hospital, where it has been held. Local media noted the increased presence of plainclothes police at a morgue in conjunction with the arrival and departure of a hearse in the afternoon.
It's suspected that the body was taken out for a religious rite. It was unclear if the body was cremated, buried, or returned to the mortuary. Government officials are tight-lipped on that matter.
Lots more to come on First Look Asia this Monday morning. Promises of a more inclusive Hong Kong from its next leader. But how realistic are Carrie Lam's promises? We'll get an expert's view after this. Stay with us.
Be informed and stay ahead. The new Porsche Panamera, the sports car with 4 business class seats.
Nepal is one of the world's most water-abundant countries. Yet, its people are going thirsty. A project to supply Nepalese with clean water has been delayed for 2 decades. How will this country tackle this crisis? Get Real, Nepal's water fight, Tuesday on Channel News Asia.
This is the heart of the world's business landscape, the epicenter of fresh policies, rapid changes and new developments. This is the pulse of Asia's economic change, where opportunities abound, capital flows, and knowing what's next is crucial to make your next move. This is Asia Business First, ringing in the biggest business stories as the opening bells strike across the region.
Asia Business First on Channel News Asia.
Here's a new show idea. What if we got one amazing chef and got them to cook for us? Nothing continues it. Here's the big catch. They can only use ingredients found in a convenience store.
Wow. I wish we could share the food with you. Okay, something a little better than that. How does $10,000 sound? Watch and I listen to Lush.com. This
is Chefs and Convenience.
Some traditional food offers a taste of history.
The Sultan of Johor traveled to Italy. He get the palace chef to do up a dish using spaghetti. They come out with laksa.
Sadly, some are near the last order. But they're finding ways to keep these culinary traditions going. Singapore Food Stories. Tonight, exclusively on Channel News Asia.
In a relentlessly changing world, where news develops every minute, zoom in on the events that matter and analyse the impact on the region. Insight on Channel News Asia.
Welcome back to First Look Asia. Thank you for your company this morning. It's all a bit shiny and new for us this morning as we kick off this new work week live from our brand new studio at One North here in Singapore.
And in the spirit of all things new, this week we bring you stories of change. Later this hour, we meet a man who's reinvented himself to help an ailing toy company get back on its feet. The lead designer for Lego will share his story.
Before we get to that, let's get you updated with the latest stories this morning. Big transition as well in Hong Kong. In keeping with tradition, Chief Executive C.Y. Leung will congratulate Carrie Lam on winning the election to become the territory's next leader.
Mrs. Lam will also visit the Central Liaison Office and meet the public to thank them for their support.
I hereby declare Mrs. Lam is returned at the election. 恭喜林太. Congratulations, Mrs. Lam.
She won Sunday's poll, securing 777 of the nearly 1,200 votes that were cast by the election committee. Her nearest rival, John Tsang, garnered a distant 365 votes. Mrs. Lam will be Hong Kong's first female leader when she's formally taking over on July the 1st.
She faces several immediate challenges, including the high cost of housing and improving the territory's sliding competitiveness. But her first priority is to unite a city wanting more political freedom from Beijing.
She's promising a more inclusive style of governance, and she's appealed to the people of Hong Kong for a chance to start a new chapter.
Hong Kong, our home, is suffering from quite a serious divisiveness and has accumulated a lot of frustrations. My priority will be to heal the divide and to ease the frustrations and to unite our society to move forward.
Opposition politicians, however, remain skeptical. They point to the fact that she was picked by a small electorate and that is mostly pro-China. The popular vote was behind John Tsang, seen as a moderate choice. China's office overseeing Hong Kong affairs, and the election was open, fair and orderly. And Mrs. Lam fitted Beijing's requirements for chief executive.
It will start procedures to formally appoint her to the post. Now, for more on this, we speak now with Andrew Leung. He's an independent China strategist based in Hong Kong. Good morning, sir. Now, Mrs. Carrie Lam, she has made uniting society a key priority. What are the challenges that she faces given her close association with Beijing?
Well, first of all, congratulations to you on this new facility. It's truly impressive. Talking about Carrie Lam, first of all, I have an interest to declare because I handed over to her personally twice in a row. First of all, as Director General of Social Welfare, followed immediately as head of Hong Kong's representation in London. So having said that, one has got to understand the dynamics behind this election because, as you rightly pointed out, she was Beijing's favorite. But then, on the other hand, she was not the most popular candidate. Now, the dynamics are in one has got to look at the basic law, which is Hong Kong's constitution, which is, of course, unique in the world. Under the Hong Kong's basic law, there are lots of safeguards for Hong Kong's two systems, Hong Kong's values and freedoms and all that. But on the other hand, there are only a few safeguards for the one country. And of course, these safeguards, the one country is not fully democratic, it's not democratic, and the safeguards are not democratic. For example, requiring the chief executive to be elected by a small circle of 1,200 voters. But these are necessary because that's a deal for the one country, two systems. Now the pan-democrats camp have been trying to push the envelope, even trying to erode some of the safeguards for the one country. And of course, this does not help by a highly unequal society, and some of the policies which in the past 5 years found it very, very difficult to pass through a legislature which contains 1/3 of the votes controlled by the pan-democrats. So Carrie has a very, very difficult task ahead.
Yeah, Andrew, she's talking about a more inclusive style of governance. Do you see the Pan-Democratic Party accepting a role in a cabinet if it was offered one?
Well, there are three basic hurdles. First of all is the restore a better relationship between the government and the people of Hong Kong. A lot of them are youngsters, university students, who see that the government is too pro-Beijing and is not mindful enough to guard Hong Kong's values. Secondly, a relationship between the administration and the legislature. As I said, the legislature contains 1/3 of the blocking votes. And then in the past, they have been opposing each and every policy put forth by the government. Even those policies are for the improving the livelihood of the people. And thirdly, is to restore, to build a better trust between Beijing and the Pan-Democrats. The Pan-Democrats are regarded by Beijing as a kind of disruptive, kind of challenging Beijing's bottom line. But then the Pan-Democrats have got to realize that without the one country, there can be no two systems. So I think that these three hurdles have got to be overcome. And then what Carrie has got to do is really to draft a lot of the opposition politicians and talents into her administration.
Andrew, there are critics out there, and some of them are saying Mrs. Lam would be a C.Y. Leung 2.0, given that she was chief secretary in his cabinet. So do you see her governing style differing significantly from her predecessor?
Well, in a way, knowing Carrie myself, this label is a little bit unfair because you look at what under CY's administration, indeed a lot of the policies are really improving Hong Kong's livelihood. But the problem is the style, is the kind of attitude towards the Pan-Democrats, is the relative inability to listen and to incorporate, some of their ideas. I think Carrie is likely to have a different style, but there is no mistake that some of the policies which are proved to be useful, to be effective, need to be continued. And I think that Carrie is likely to carry through some of these policies, which are still, some of them are still dangling in the air.
Can we ask you about the runner-up in the poll, John Tsang? He's voiced his support for Mrs. Lam, but he has urged his supporters to carry on the dream for democracy. Do you think Beijing will show any compromise at all, given the risk of more protests like we saw in 2014?
I think this election also shows that there are true aspirations for a lot of people in Hong Kong, not just the young people, but the demand for a greater democracy. But then, as I pointed out right at the beginning, under the Basic Law, that there is still a lot of leeway, but then the bottom lines, which are the safeguards for the one country, which requires the election at the universal suffrage of a future chief executive be first of all screened by this 1,200 voters of Electoral College. Well, this is the kind of basic safeguards for the one country. But even within these safeguards, there are lots of leeway, and I think that it would be a test of Carrie's leadership skill, how to explore this leeway, how to grant a more liberal electoral package for universal suffrage. But before that can happen, a greater trust needed to be built between the Pan-Democrats and Beijing. And I think that she's likely to concentrate during the next 5 years, first of all, to deliver on her manifesto to improve the livelihood of the people, to create a more equal and equitable society, and to address some of the aspirations of the young people in terms of housing, in terms of creative jobs and so on, and to restore the competitiveness of Hong Kong. And in meanwhile, try to have a more inclusive style of governance, hopefully incorporating some of the opposition parties into the administration. Because at the moment, all they can do is to oppose the government.
Okay. Now, that's all the time we have for you, Andrew. Thank you very much, Andrew Leung, CEO of Leung International Consultants. Thank you.
Well, Chinese Premier Li Keqiang is in New Zealand for an official visit. He will press for deeper trade ties when he meets Prime Minister Bill English and business leaders.
Let's see whether we can get you some live pictures of a joint news conference in Wellington. We could go to the Beehive. Yes? No? No, we've lost the feed. So let's see whether we can move on to the next story. Let's shift our attention now to what else is making news on the online space. And for that, we've got Yvonne Chan standing by. Yvonne, what do you have for us?
Well, good morning, Lance and Teresa. We're going to go to Malaysia right now, where teachers actively promoting the opposition or discrediting the government have been advised to resign from the civil service. And that's according to the Malay Mail Online, where Education Minister Mr. Mazhar Khalidal reminded teachers that they are bound by civil service rules and that criticizing to the point of defaming was not right. He said only a small number of the 400,000 or so teachers were involved in such activities, and the government is monitoring the situation. And next we head to the Susukino district in Japan, once home to more than 300 geishas. Today, only 10 remain. The Asahi Shimbun reports a large number of companies and individuals have come to the rescue to help prevent the geisha culture in Hokkaido from dying out. An association has been set up to nurture young geisha and promote the traditional entertainment business. The association's initial goal is to recruit as well as develop a few young geisha by bearing part of the costs for the expensive kimono, as well as fund training expenses for singing and dancing. And photography and music may be serious endeavors for some, but there are also tools for integrating people with disabilities like autism and cerebral palsy into the community. According to Today Online, photography workshops are held over 6 Sundays at the Enabling Village. It's not meant to groom future shutterbugs, but to give them an opportunity to get out of the house, interact with different people, and spend time with their family members. The music project, meanwhile, was a collaboration between social initiative Superhero Me and the Young Suto Conservatory of Music. It is targeted at children from low-income families to give them opportunities to experiment with musical instruments as well as sing. Isn't that a great initiative, guys? You know, one of the mother whose son is involved in the photography workshop, he has autism, and she said that her son used to just randomly take photos of like his tongue or people's feet. So when she came across this workshop, she immediately signed him up and said that his interaction and communication skills have greatly improved thanks to this.
That's the beauty of art, photography, music. It's such a unique form of expression.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's so collaborative, like you mentioned. And I think of people like Michael Jackson, Beyonce. She has that alter ego, Sasha Fierce, and you just take on a different personality.
Yeah, I think it's great that they're finding different ways of connecting with people with interacting disabilities.
Yeah, in fact, they went the extra mile. Instead of making it seem like, oh, we're here to help you kind of workshop. For the photography class, for instance, they got the patients or the children's carers to pose as photography assistants. Okay. So it doesn't seem like it's like a simulated setting, but rather it's really a proper workshop for them.
And it's not only kids with autism. I remember we had a former inmate on the show, Lance, and he said art was really his outlet to reintegrate back in society.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you very much,
I'll
Yvonne.
Have more for you in the next hour.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Yvonne. Well, coming up on First Look Asia this morning, tit for tat, Iran slaps sanctions on American companies amid rising tensions over its missile program. We check in with our correspondent right after this break.
Are you tired of having your online parcels misplaced or just late? I know I am. That's why I started my own courier company, one that's unlike any other, one that uses technology to rewrite logistics. And I'm never afraid to get my hands dirty. That's why I call it NinjaVan.
Company of Good is a program that empowers businesses to give better and more holistically, whatever stage you're at, which is achieved through 3 ways. Company of Good Quiz, Company of Good Resources, and Company of Good Network. Take our online quiz to better understand your giving profile and identify areas on how to start giving or give better. To become better at giving, you will have access to a pool of resources, toolkits, and training to increase your knowledge. Our network enables you to meet, share experiences, and collaborate with other companies or partners to do good. You join the network as a Company of Good, Company of Good Champion, or Company of Good Partner. Join Company of Good and let's make goodness the business of every organization.
How can supporting responsible, inclusive and sustainable business practices affect your company's bottom line? Channel News Asia's Business Sustainability Dialogue brings together business leaders from around the region to discuss strategies for a sustainable future. Organised by Channel News Asia. Strategic Partners, SG Enable, NVPC.
Good morning, good Monday morning to you. You're watching us on First Look Asia, brand new set, loving it. You loving it?
I love it.
It's fantastic, isn't
it?
If
only everyone could be here with us.
Yeah, well, we had to say goodbye to our old home at Caldecott Broadcast Centre last week. It was a bit of a bittersweet moment for me anyway, because it's been so much.
I won't tell people you cried.
Did. Do it for me. But look, you know, it's fantastic as well, because this is a brand new spanking building. And I think it's got all the bells and whistles, and I love it.
We wake up early, but now I wake up earlier because it's so big to get from the front entrance to my desk.
Oh, yeah, it is a long
but
walk.
It's beautiful. You get to enjoy.
You'll be clocking up those steps.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, we've got some other stories because we just can't keep talking about our beautiful new studio. Moving on to other things. It's Pomp and ceremony in Myanmar as the country celebrates a national holiday. The military chief will preside over a parade in the capital of Naypyidaw under heightened security.
It's being closely watched as this is the first Armed Forces Day since the National League for Democracy took power last year. Now, it's unclear as yet if State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi will be in attendance for this 72nd Armed Forces Day.
Now, you're looking at live pictures from the parade grounds where thousands of troops have gathered. In a few days, Ms. Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy government will mark 1 year since they took office. Previously, she had criticized the military for being too entrenched in their political system.
Under the Constitution, the military commands a 25% presence in Parliament. The military also appoints 3 key ministers of defense, home affairs and border affairs in the country. Her presence will show her willingness to work with the military in trying to achieve a democratic path for Myanmar. It can also be seen as improving ties with them.
Armed Forces Day was originally established as Resistance Day to celebrate the anniversary of the beginning of the resistance against the Japanese occupation in 1945. The Ministry of Defense oversees the armed forces, which is made up of the Army, Navy and Air Force. They also include auxiliary forces such as the Myanmar Police Force.
2 technicians in Hong Kong have been arrested over a malfunctioning escalator. They're suspected of tampering with the escalator after the incident that saw the escalator suddenly reverse. They are now out on bail. Now, this here was the incident at Langham Place. 18 people were injured. 2 are still in hospital. Local reports say the malfunction could have been caused by a damaged driving chain and a failed braking device. Experts say most escalators have safety mechanisms to ensure they do not go in reverse. A backup braking system is also meant to kick in if it does. These failures will be investigated. The mall said the escalator had just passed a safety test 2 days before the incident. It's checking all 40 of its escalators to ensure safety. Authorities have also ordered checks on nearly 60 escalators in Hong Kong that are more than 15 meters high.
You know, when I saw that video yesterday, and I said to myself, oh gosh, you know, definitely there'll be a few injuries because, you know, you're nice and relaxed on an escalator. You tend to sometimes not hold the side. And then suddenly when it goes in reverse at double speed time, it's worrying, isn't it?
I'm actually quite fearful of escalators. I'm afraid one of my shoelaces might get stuck in the teeth of it. I always hold on. And this is another reminder why we should.
Yeah, just have to be careful on escalators because they are machines and you never know. Well, Iran has imposed sanctions on 15 American companies over their alleged support for Israel, terrorism and repression in the region. A foreign ministry statement said the companies are barred from any agreements with Iranian firms.
These companies' former and current directors will also not be eligible for visas. The move is seen as a response to U.S. sanctions on dozens of Iranian entities in February following an Iranian missile test. Now let's get more on this story with our U.S. correspondent, Will Denslow. Good morning, Will. Has there been any reaction in Washington to this so-called tit-for-tat response by Iran?
Well, limited reaction so far in Washington, but of course, lawmakers in the United States do have several irons in the fire when it comes to further steps they can take for what many lawmakers in the US feel are continuing alleged human rights abuses, as well as what they believe are continued steps by Iran to continue with their alleged nuclear program. So a couple of bills have been tabled by US lawmakers. So officials in the United States, lawmakers, will certainly be looking at those very closely indeed. Now, there's also been a reaction from Iran to those specific bills, with one Iranian official stating that if the Revolutionary Guard are included in what's really being described as this terrorism sanctions, then there could well be a tit-for-tat response from Iran, even including the US military and even including the CIA in a type of counter-sanction. Of course, these sanctions that were slapped on 15 US companies really come from a range of sectors, no clear pattern really, and it's also unclear what exactly impact this will have. Not really clear whether, if any, of a reaction and an impact this will have on these 15 companies. But certainly a message is being sent out, of course, very much a reaction to that ballistic missile test in February. So very interesting to see how things will play out. Of course, Donald Trump in the past stating that he could well go ahead and review that Obama nuclear program test. So very interested to see what happens in the future.
We'll continue to watch this story. Thank you so much, Will. Our U.S. correspondent Will Denslow with that update.
Now let's get the latest in business news. We've got Adam Bakhtiar, the omnipresent.
He's everywhere.
Bakhtiar is everywhere. This time he's at the newsroom. Adam, what do you have for us?
I'm all over the place, right? Well, I tell you what, this has been a long and drawn-out and expensive saga. Toshiba's Westinghouse Electric is reportedly looking at filing for bankruptcy protection. I'll have more on that story after the break.
Some traditional food offers a taste of history.
The Sultan of Johor traveled to Italy. He get the palace chef to do up a dish using spaghetti. They come out with laksa.
Sadly, some are near the last order, but they're finding ways to keep these culinary traditions going.
Singapore Food Stories, tonight exclusively on Channel News Asia.
Vasantham presents a current affairs series that highlights matters close to the heart, local and international issues that affect our lives, and in-depth analysis of what matters to Singapore and our community. Yediroli on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Following that, an hour-long talk show featuring icons of the Indian diaspora who have made it to the top in various arenas. Catch them as they share their secrets for success. Neraku Nair on Thursdays at 9 p.m. only on Vasantham.
Hi, my name is Ruth. I've been living with bipolar disorder for about a decade now. It's been a long struggle, but I've successfully learned how to cope with it and helping others to manage with it now. Later, I'll share some of my experiences and how I've managed to cope all these years.
That's on Health Matters coming up later in the show. First up, though, an update on our top stories. A decision on what to do with the remains of North Korean citizen Kim Jong-nam is still anticipated as Malaysian authorities keep up discussions with Pyongyang. It's widely believed the remains were moved out of the mortuary and brought to a crematorium on Sunday ahead of religious rites.
Thousands of North Queenslanders are being evacuated as Cyclone Debbie bears down on the coast. The system is about 400 kilometers off Townsville. It's due to intensify into a Cat 4 system. By this time tomorrow at latest, about 1,000 extra emergency services personnel have been flown into the region to help assist low-lying coastal communities. The biggest concern is not just the wind, but the rain and the storm surge that would follow. Authorities feel it could be anywhere between 2 and 4 meters.
Time now for the day's business news. And for that, we have Adam Bakhtiar, who's standing by in the middle of our brand new newsroom. He has the latest. Adam, over to you.
Thanks very much for that, Teresa. We're going to kick off with Toshiba. Certainly had a lot of financial scandals to handle, and this has been one of the biggest, but some respite for the company to desperately, of course, to ease the pain from its troubled U.S. nuclear unit. Now, a report by Japan's Nikkei Asian Review says Westinghouse Electric could file for bankruptcy protection in the U.S. by Tuesday of this week. Now, Westinghouse will reportedly seek a meeting later today with American utilities and other stakeholders to discuss the filing. Toshiba's directors will then meet to approve it before the end of the financial year this Friday. Westinghouse has plunged the parent company Toshiba into a financial crisis, with the tech company facing more than $6 billion in impairment charges. Well, a bit of give and take. China is opening up more sectors to foreign investments. However, the head of China's central bank says in return, Beijing wants China to be treated fairly overseas. Zhou Qiaoshuan says insurance, investment, banking, securities firms and payments are among the sectors that will be further opened up to foreign capital. Beijing is currently in trade talks with the US, Japan and countries in Europe and also ASEAN. Well, a stellar annual report card for property giant China Vanke. It posted a 16% rise in its net profit for last year as it emerged from a boardroom tussle among shareholders fighting for control over the firm. China's second largest home builder saw revenues rise 24% from 2015. This is thanks to strong sales in key Tier 1 cities like Beijing, Shanghai and also Shenzhen. Overall, China Vanke ranked among the top 3 in market sales across 40 cities for the year. Okay, turning to the oil patch, OPEC and non-OPEC oil producers are looking at keeping the tap turned down for another 6 months. A joint committee of ministers from oil-producing nations are meeting in Kuwait to review the progress of their initial pact to cut supplies. The committee has asked the OPEC Secretariat to review oil market conditions and come up with a recommendation by April about extending that agreement. OPEC and other leading oil producers agreed back in December to cut output by nearly 2 million barrels a day for 6 months. The move has lifted crude prices to more than $50 a barrel, but prices since then have come down as recent data show record supply in U.S. stockpiles. Well, after a difficult session last Friday for Wall Street, this week investors are likely to shift their focus on key data out this week, including a final read on U.S. economic growth in the last leg of 2016. Lorna Shattuck has a preview from New York.
We saw a tumultuous week on the markets last week, ending with President Trump, of course, failing to bring his healthcare bill to a vote because he didn't have the necessary support. And the Dow nosedived on Friday at that news, but then recovered somewhat. And investors will now be hoping that since healthcare is effectively dead, the president will just be able to move on to what they want him to do, which is tax reform. But in the meantime, on Tuesday, the US is going to be releasing figures on consumer confidence for March this year. That's based on a survey of 3,000 households who will be asked about their perceptions on the economy and business conditions. And in February, it seemed morale was up among consumers. The confidence level was at 114.8, the highest since July 2001. And overall, it seems consumers are expecting things to keep going well in the next few months. Economists are predicting a level of 113.9 for March. Then on Wednesday, we'll be seeing the inventory of US crude oil stocks released. It was at a record high 5 million barrels for the week of the 17th of March. And that saw oil prices slide to their lowest since late November, with economists really worried about that glut in supplies. It seems that deal that OPEC reached with some non-OPEC producers to reduce their output this year just isn't working. So investors will be keenly awaiting this week's figures as well. And on Thursday, we'll be getting the final estimate for US GDP for the fourth quarter of last year. Now, the first estimate for that reported 2.9% growth, which was down on the third quarter, 3.5%. And many economists are forecasting around 2% for the whole year. So we'll have to see if Thursday's figure fits with that pattern.
And those are your latest business updates so far this morning. I will be back in the 8 o'clock hour with more business updates and, of course, a sneak peek into our newsroom and the new building we're in, guys. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam. Well, just ahead on First Look Asia, severe mood swings and fluctuating energy levels. People with bipolar disorder can struggle to manage common interactions daily. One sufferer shares her experiences with us. That's coming up in the next couple of minutes. Stay tuned.
Are you tired of having your online parcels misplaced or just late? I know I am. That's why I started my own courier company, one that's unlike any other, one that uses technology to rewrite logistics. And I'm never afraid to get my hands dirty. That's why I call it Ninja Van.
Matters close to our hearts. Issues that redefine who we are. Explore the complexities of the Asian identity through groundbreaking, innovative storytelling. Signature, Mondays on Channel News Asia.
I'm very happy to join my team, the Photo Unit Women, Men's and Parenting segment, together with Sobe for a very meaningful community project. The team put together a sponsor for the clothes. Style by Style executed the makeover and styling. And the Photo Unit captured the unique moment for 10 families whose dream is to realize a professional family portrait. We truly hope that our experience will inspire you to spend time and effort to celebrate those moments with your family and loved ones and capture those beautiful moments.
How are nursing homes in Singapore providing holistic care?
What I really want is to keep them meaningfully engaged.
We've got to give our residents a reason to look forward to the next day.
How are nursing homes redefining elder care?
I hope our nursing homes can become truly like their home.
Find out on the final episode of Aging Well, Friday on Channel News Asia.
Brought to you by Agency for Integrated Care.
These days, there are many places to stay. But how can you avoid nasty surprises? With AccorHotels.com, you'll always make the right choice at a guaranteed best price. As a true online hotel company, we feature not only our own hotels, but hotels from our partners too. Your stay is sure to exceed your expectations. Book now on AccorHotels.com. Feel welcome from the first click.
Next on Smart Cities 2.0, I'm in Ahmedabad, the 6th largest city in India. It has not fully resolved 19th century problems like sanitation and basic utilities, but it has 21st century ambitions.
How do you bring those two together is the challenge of smart cities in India.
So Ahmedabad is trying to solve it in a very unique way that is needed for a country like India.
Smart Cities 2.0, Saturday exclusively on Channel News Asia.
Brought to you by Kia. The power to surprise.
Welcome to this Monday edition of First Look Asia. Well, change is constant for a person with bipolar disorder. Extreme mood swings can affect sleep, energy, judgment, and the ability to think clearly. Recognizing the symptoms of bipolar disorder and getting the right treatment can help transform a person's life.
And for a better understanding of the condition, we have with us psychiatrist Dr. Lim Boon Leng from the Dr. B.L. Lim Center for Psychological Wellness and peer specialist Ruth Kumati, who suffers from bipolar disorder and now advises others on dealing with the condition. Thank you very much for coming in.
Good morning. Let's start with you, Ruth, and tell us what it's like for someone living with bipolar disorder who may not understand what it's all about.
Well, I guess on treatment, it's just like everybody else. However, before treatment, I think it's a lot of extreme mood swings. It really impairs the lifestyle. So for me, I could not go to school. I could not leave my house. I was unable to interact with my parents or my friends at all. So I ended up like shouting or crying a lot.
When did you realize that this was a condition that needed some medical advice, some attention?
Well, I think for me, I did not really seek medical attention for the condition. I often had headaches and I kept seeing the doctor for it. Once the doctors picked out that my moods were a bit low, and actually I had the headaches for about 3 years before they actually sent me to IMH.
And Dr. Lim, this condition is often referred to as manic depression.
That's right.
Can you tell us how this condition affects the brain?
I think it's important to understand, yes, it is a brain disorder, and we see shifts in moods. So sometimes you have people having depressive moods, whereby they feel very hopeless, the mood is really low, activity is really low. And then what is distinct in bipolar disorder or manic depressive disorder is the manic episodes, whereby you do see people having very, very high, unusually high moods. And that's coupled by a sense of self-inflicted esteem. They often have a lot of activities, they have lots of ideas that they want to accomplish, and most importantly, sometimes they may resort to risky behaviors, sometimes overspending, sometimes making poor judgment in investments, things like that.
Doctor, is it more prevalent in men or women, or is it a modern city living phenomenon?
I wouldn't say so. I think it affects women and men in the same way. In the general population, about 1 to 2 person may have actually, out of 100 may have actually bipolar disorder. And I don't think that it is a modern living issue. I think across Asia, across modern rural areas, I do see that prevalence is about the same.
Yeah. It's often misdiagnosed as depression in both men and women. Why does that happen?
First of all, I wouldn't call it a misdiagnosis. It's just that people tend to present themselves when they're depressive rather than when they have manic symptoms, because the manic symptoms is often pretty enjoyable, actually. So they wouldn't see a doctor at that time, but during depressive symptoms, they do come to the doctors. Sometimes it's because we haven't had the manic symptoms, which is why we can't diagnose it as bipolar disorder. But at other times, it's difficult to get a history of manic symptoms. It's very subjective sometimes.
Ruth, let's bring you back into the discussion. Did you get that a lot? Feeling overwhelmed 1 minute and then feeling a bit helpless and despondent?
Well, for me, I think I felt very low. When I felt high, I think like Dr. Lim said, I never really saw it as a problem. I felt like it was a relief from my low moods. So I thought I was getting better. So that was how I actually distinguished that there was another phase of myself. But that wasn't what I told the doctors. I didn't want the doctor to take that away from me. Yeah.
Earlier you had said it has affected your relationships. Did that impact your relationship long term with your family and your friends? I mean, did they come to understand the condition that you had?
I guess with my family came to understand. I think I'm here because of my parents. But I feel that maybe my friends, I never really got a chance to explain to them. And it's not something that's very easy to tell them, like, this is what I was going through. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess some people might just say, don't worry about it. You just take a couple of pills and you'll be okay. Yeah. What happens if bipolar disorders go undetected or untreated?
First of all, I think we know that when it is untreated, the dysfunction in an individual's life can be quite quite bad. We have seen people getting divorced, breaking the law because of the risky behaviors that they display. So I think that in itself, in the acute presentation itself, it can be quite dangerous. But in the longer term, if you do not get yourself treated, each episode actually puts you at risk for future episodes, and it can get more and more severe down the road.
Ruth, you're saying how it's difficult to explain to people what it is. So, doctor, how do you identify the symptoms? I mean, everyone suffers from depression in some form. How do you distinguish what type of depression and how severe?
I would say that, in both the manic and depressive episodes, you'll see distinct changes, meaning that the person's baseline personality, the way he is, the way she is, it's something that we know, the family members would know, and you'll see a change in the personality to someone who is completely different from who you would normally identify with. So that's a big indication that something has gone wrong. And of course, if you do suspect that the loved ones have some problems and you do see some of the symptoms, it's always better to go to a healthcare professional, mental health professional, to get it checked. No harm doing that.
Now, do you need medication to come out of a disability like this?
I would say that the mainstay of treatment is still medication, and I cannot overemphasize this, even though lots of times, people would think otherwise, especially in the Asian society. But nevertheless, other than medications, I think things like therapy, after the mood is stable, is important to help them gain acceptance and to understand their condition much better. Yeah.
And Ruth, finally, you have the last word. What can people do who might have somebody in their life who has bipolar disorder? What's the best thing that a support network can do for that person?
I think, like Dr. Lim said, I think one is really bringing them to see a doctor. I think the other one is there are a lot of resource tools in the community. So for example, like myself, I work in the Singapore Association for Mental Health as a peer specialist, and the peer movement actually helps to bring a peer specialist with a peer who is currently recovering from their mental illness to, join together and journey with them. And that, I think, is a very strong factor of how someone can move forward, because they learn that there is hope.
Oh, that's fantastic. There is hope.
Message.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for coming in. Ruth Komati from the Singapore Association for Mental Health, and psychiatrist Dr. Lim Boon Leng.
Well, 60 million people worldwide live with bipolar disorder, and this Thursday is World Bipolar Day. So to find out more about this mental condition, visit the International Bipolar Foundation. The website address is on your screen right now.
Much more world news to come after this break. Plus, taking over the industry one toy brick at a time. Lego's lead designer talks innovation, creativity and courage. That's coming up in the next hour.
Building the car of your dreams yourself. Madness. Putting the engine in the back. Madness. Building the fastest hybrid car on Earth. They called it madness. We call it courage. And courage will change everything. Again, the new Panamera.
Asia's place in the world has changed phenomenally. Now everyone's watching this region, studying its daily developments.
New policies, innovations, crises. And at the same time, there's a sense of dynamism, a region rapidly changing.
It's no longer Asia reacting to Wall Street. What happens here very much impacts the West as well. So Primetime Asia does the pulse check.
It's not just about informing you, it's about analyzing the impact, why something happens and what it means.
And we have the best people doing it, an extensive network of correspondents who live, breathe, and understand these issues. This is where Asia comes together. Primetime Asia, daily on Channel News Asia.
Round up your week
The Tokyo Basil
with the events that top the news agenda.
Of its imports.
Told through stories from the ground.
Hong Kong. One Malaysia.
With unique insights and perspectives.
Land clearing by burning. Deforestation is. But the risks are high.
Correspondence Diary, Fridays on Channel News Asia.
Discover 2 exquisite bottles of wine, curated in France, and delivered every month to your doorstep with tasting notes. We are always ready for your next adventure in life. Join the most exclusive wine club in town at tfc.sg.
Good morning. Welcome to First Look Asia this Monday, the 27th of March. I'm Teresa Tang, and we're so excited to have you with us on this very special day.
Indeed, I'm Lance Alexander. It's very special because you are watching us live from our brand new home right here at One North in Singapore. We can't wait to show you our brand new home, and for that we've got Mr. Adam Bhatia, who's standing by somewhere around the building, and he'll give you a grand tour. Adam, where exactly are you, my friend?
Hey guys, a very good morning to you both. What an exciting day to be in our brand new building. It's certainly been a long time coming and we are finally here. Now I'm just outside the Mediacorp campus as Channel News Asia kicks off its first day here. And as impressive as the studio looks, I wanted to take our viewers back to where it all began. In 2011, Mediacorp broke ground and laid the foundation for change. After 60 years at Caldecott Broadcast Centre, we have moved to our new home, the Mediacorp campus at One North. Spanning 800,000 square feet, this 12-story building houses almost 3,000 employees. But we didn't just break ground, we broke barriers. For the very first time, the entire Mediacorp group is under one roof. Everything from action to animation, documentaries to drama, comedy to culture. And that's where the MES Theatre comes in, a state-of-the-art 1,500-seat theatre, the only one in the region that is broadcast ready. The open architecture of the Mediacorp campus reflects our mantra. We've opened the doors, broken down the walls, and reinvented the way media operates, fostering innovation, collaboration, and the sharing of knowledge in the digital age.
And Adam Bhatia joins us now in the studio.
In the flesh.
Didn't even break a sweat. So tell us about this. You've been looking at all the nooks and crannies of this place.
I know, it's such an exciting assignment to sort of explore the building and to bring our viewers a glimpse of what it took to get here, right? And it's absolutely fantastic if you look at the design, from the opening sequence. The building is so sharp, it's cavernous, it's like a hull of a ship sort of piercing through the waters. And just to give you some insight in terms of the architect, it was done by Maki & Associates, which is a award-winning architect in Japan, famous for many other buildings worldwide, including the World Trade Center area where they put up a 72-story tower. And, you know, when you're walking through the building, the exterior and the interior, there are so many places in here. You can absolutely live in the building. You know?
It is just that big, isn't it?
It's huge.
Yeah, and I like how it's shaped. I love the curves on this building.
Yes.
It looks like we're pushing forward, doesn't it?
Well, the design apparently is supposed to be, it's cavernous aerodynamic to allow the feeling of air through the whole space and the exterior of the building, so it's a lot more cooler. And they've got a lot of outdoor spaces here to enjoy. And the great thing about it is it's a building for everybody. I mean, it's not just for us here in Mediacorp. Of course, it's fantastic. But, you know, a lot of people from the general public can come here and enjoy the spaces as well. You know, there's cafes outside. And on the weekend, I noticed people were out in the garden. So it's great that you can engage with the whole property.
And speaking of space, to give you some perspective, because we're here, we've seen it in person, the level 9 atrium here is big enough to fit an A380 Airbus.
Wow.
And also you could fit 12 football fields in here. It's huge.
It's absolutely
It is massive. I mean, just looking at the newsroom from one end to the other takes you, like, I think, at least a couple of minutes to get across from left to right.
Not if you run when there's breaking news.
Oh,
Not that you
okay.
should run.
All right.
No, exactly. We've got to break a sweat there. But the other thing about the design is, of course, the light shafts. You know, if you go to the 9th floor, they've got these fantastic light shafts and the huge, huge atriums, 4-story high. And, you know, as a result of the design of the building, it won the Building Construction Authority sort of eco-friendly building award, you know, for energy saving. And I think that's important this day and age, obviously.
Yeah, I like the idea that in the second quarter of 2017, they are planning to start these tours so the public can actually come around and see how we function. And they've also got a couple of studios which they'll be able to get into and pretend to be newscasters.
Adam Bhatia as well. Maybe you can encourage a whole generation.
Yeah, exactly, which is great. I think, you know, it makes it so tangible.
You
can see what we're doing.
The feel of it.
Love it.
Thank you so much for that, Adam. And we will see you again later in the hour with business news.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Let's get to our top stories this morning.
Myanmar shows off its military years. All eyes are watching out for Aung San Suu Kyi. Will she or won't she attend the parade?
Malaysia to decide soon on what to do with the body of Kim Jong-nam. Amid reports, police reportedly entered the North Korean embassy on Sunday.
Worries of a storm surge in northern Queensland as thousands prepare for the worst with Cyclone Debbie.
Work for pay at a popular UK chain, but what if the pay is sandwiches? We'll explain.
Reinventing himself as he helped to revitalize an ailing toy company, senior designer Marcos Bessa shares his story and how he's bringing everyone on board the Lego experience.
We are expecting a decision by Malaysia soon on what to do about the remains of the late half-brother of the North Korean leader. According to Malaysia's health minister, a decision could come today on what to do with the body of Kim Jong-nam.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has been and the Prime Minister's Department. They have been discussing with various parties, including the North Korean government. So they probably have made some decision, I'm told.
Local media reports say Malaysian police were at the North Korean embassy in Kuala Lumpur for more than 2 hours on Sunday. That they were allowed to enter was seen as a sign that a preliminary agreement may have been reached on processing the body of Kim Jong-nam, who was poisoned at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport just last month.
It's also possible some agreement was reached on taking statements from 3 suspected accomplices in the murder believed to be hiding in the embassy. Mr. Kim's body was also reportedly moved from the morgue at a Kuala Lumpur hospital. Local media noted the increased presence of plainclothes police at a morgue in conjunction with the arrival and departure of a hearse in the afternoon.
It's widely believed that the body was taken out for a religious rite. It remains unclear if the body was cremated, buried or returned to the morgue. Government officials are tight-lipped on that matter.
Thousands in the northern Australian state of Queensland have been ordered to evacuate as tropical cyclone Debbie approaches the coast. It's expected to make landfall tomorrow morning on Tuesday, possibly a Category 5 cyclone that is extremely dangerous with widespread destruction.
Emergency services are preparing for the worst. Evacuation orders have been issued for coastal communities directly in the firing line of the storm. They include Bowen, Porcupine and Ayr. They've been told to leave by 10 a.m. local time today. That's 8 in Singapore and Hong Kong. Experts say the storm is approaching the North Queensland coast, bringing with it 280 km/h winds, heavy rains and high tides.
As of 4 a.m. this morning, the storm was about 400 kilometers off the coast. Debbie is expected to cross the coast early tomorrow morning as a Category 4 system, but could further intensify to Category 5. Residents have been urged to take all necessary precautions and prepare their homes.
In Townsville, locals have been stocking up on fuel, batteries and food. They have also put sandbags against the buildings and taped up their windows. Weather officials are warning that the cyclone will be the worst to hit Queensland since Yasi in 2011.
I've been in 3 cyclones before, but this one's made me a little nervous.
Why's that?
Because it's bigger than the ones I've been in. It could be a Category 4 and it's heading directly for us.
A military parade is underway in Myanmar's capital, Naypyidaw. You're looking at live pictures now from the parade grounds where thousands of troops are gathered. It's a celebration of the country's 72nd Armed Forces Day. It's the first since the National League for Democracy took power last year. It's being closely watched, in particular for the absence or the presence of State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi.
Our correspondent May Wong is at the parade. May, any sign of the State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi? What would be the significance of her attendance or absence?
At the moment, we've not cited her as yet. I do understand that an invitation was sent out to her as well as for the President, Mr. Tin Chaw, to attend this particular function, which is an annual event, but a huge annual event by the military. Unfortunately, it seems that she has not shown up yet. She hasn't done so for the last 2 years, even though she first appeared at such an event back in 2013. The significance is plenty, given the fact that if she does turn up, it will show this civil-military relationship going forward. She has consistently said that she wants to work together with the military in order to build closer ties with them, because knowing the fact that 2 of them will work hand in hand and need to work hand in hand in order to bring about democracy in this country. So it only goes to show the kind of closeness that they will have if she does turn up for this event. On the other hand, if she doesn't turn up, then a lot of people will question exactly what is going on and why did she not turn up for the event. So it's going to be crucial to kind of see which way it turns. But more importantly as well, the military chief, Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, is scheduled to give a speech later on when he arrives over here. Highly likely he will talk about the need to continue to keep the military entrenched in the system in order to bring about peace as well as stability in this country before the military can start to even consider moving away from the political system.
Thank you, May. May Wong and Naypyidaw.
Well, it's time now for a short break. You can contact us, head to Twitter. Let us know what you think of our new studios. Also, I have behind-the-scenes photos of Lance getting ready for the show. If you find my Twitter,
show that. Come on.
Use the hashtag FirstLookAsia. You want to see these photos.
You are trouble. Now, coming up on First Look Asia, a promise to unite Hong Kong's divided society. But can Carrie Lam deliver when she becomes the leader?
Some traditional food offers a taste of history.
The Sultan of Johor traveled to Italy. He get the palace chef to do up a dish using spaghetti. They come up with laksa.
Sadly, some are near the last order. But they're finding ways to keep these culinary traditions going. Singapore Food Stories. Tonight, exclusively on Channel News Asia.
setting high expectations of uniting a dichotomized America.
The history of Obama is a belief in his ability to bring people of disparate views together.
Only to hit resistance for the changes he envisioned.
We were not going to get a lot of cooperation.
Divisive politics that widened the gulf between the people and the government. Divided States of America, Part 1, Sunday on Channel News Asia.
Hey, man.
Sometimes it's the little things that ruin dining out. Download the One Food app that tells you what others should but don't eat list.
This is the heart of the world's business landscape, the epicenter of fresh policies, rapid changes and new developments. This is the pulse of Asia's economic change, where opportunities abound, capital flows, and knowing what's next is crucial to make your next move. This is Asia Business First, ringing in the biggest business stories as the opening bells strike across the region.
Asia Business First on Channel News Asia.
Good Monday morning. Welcome back to First Look Asia. Thanks for your company. And if you're wondering, we are coming to you live from our brand new studio at One North here in Singapore.
And in the spirit of all things new, this week we bring you stories of change. Later this hour, we meet a man who's helped a once ailing toy company get back on its feet while he reinvents himself too. Lead designer for Lego shares his story straight ahead.
But before we get to that story, let's get you updated on the other top stories of the day. Hong Kong's chief executive will congratulate Carrie Lam on her victory in Sunday's election. That meeting is expected sometime in the next hour.
Mrs. Lam will succeed Mr. Leung on the 1st of July as the territory's chief executive. She'll face a series of immediate challenges, but has made uniting Hong Kong's divided society her top priority. For more, our senior correspondent Roland Lim joins us from Hong Kong.
So Roland, a day after her victory, what is Mrs. Lam's schedule like today? We understand she will be heading to the chief executive's office for a meeting with Mr. C.Y. Leung.
Right, busy day for Mrs. Lam, part of a victory tour today. She is, of course, due to meet the chief executive, as you say, 9:30 a.m. Singapore, Hong Kong time. Of course, C.Y. Leung, not unknown to her, she did serve for 5 years as his deputy. She was that softer image in his administration. And of course, later on, she will also be hitting the streets, thanking her supporters at their core electoral bases. More controversially, though, she may be meeting officials at the Central Liaison Office. Remember, they had endorsed her for her nomination for the post of chief executive. But remember, this is, of course, a Hong Kong election by Hong Kong Election Committee members. So opposition voices and local news reports have been pretty vocal about phone calls from officials lobbying for Lam earlier on in this race, seen as direct interference in the city's electoral affairs.
Roland, Carrie Lam, a.k.a. the nanny, has vowed to unite Hong Kong's divided society. What expectations are there for a style of governance just going forward?
Well, as I said earlier, she is a softer image to C.Y. Leung's administration. In her victory speech, Lam pledged to uphold the one country, two systems principle and defend Hong Kong's core values. And that includes freedom of speech and press, as well as judicial independence. That's actually the most important thing on the minds of Hong Kong people. She also said she would begin with preparations to implement policies in her election platform, spending more on education as well as welfare. She's also planning to appoint top officials according to their abilities and regardless, more importantly, regardless of their political affiliations. Remember, tensions between Beijing and Pan-Democrats have escalated during this election because of the perceived central government interference in this race. But Lam's relationship with the Pan-Democrats actually hasn't been that bad during her civil service career. Her style not as divisive as compared to C.Y. Leung. And of course, she will be trying hard in the next 5 years to get rid of that CY 2.0 moniker. There is room for her to mend that rift with the Pan Democrats as well in the next few years if she can adopt a more inclusive style. Her biggest challenge, of course, and focus, improving the livelihoods of all Hong Kongers, which she says is the root of all the unhappiness for most people here in the city.
Roland, this wasn't a public vote, so are people going to protest this at all anytime soon?
Well, there will be sporadic protests here and then, but there will be also lightning points for this. The next one that we're likely to see is during her inauguration on July 1st. It's understood that President Xi Jinping will actually be in town for that when it happens, and localists here and pro-independence movements here have already saying that they are planning to organize a massive, what they call a massive, they didn't say how many people will turn out, but a massive civil disobedience action on that day itself.
Thank you, Roland. Roland Lim in Hong Kong. Thank you for that update.
Still lots more to come on this Monday edition of First Look Asia. We're going to check on some of the region's top online stories with Yvonne Chan. Plus, medical scandal over in India. Did expired medicine sicken these children? We have details coming up.
Are you tired of having your online parcels misplaced or just late? I know I am. That's why I started my own courier company, one that's unlike any other, one that uses technology to rewrite logistics. And I'm never afraid to get my hands dirty. That's why I call it Ninja Van.
The only supplement that's clinically tested and medically proven to treat stubborn pigmentation. Formulated with crystal tomato carotenoids for radiant, fairer, and healthier skin. Insist on crystal tomato. There is no substitute.
Mediacorp held a renewal reception for clients who have enjoyed the benefits and successes of TV Connect advertising ahead of this year's seminar.
TV Connect is amazing. It helps my company reach 80% of Singapore consumers. Apart from affordable TV advertising packages, the digital bundles help to reach a new audience.
TV is still the #1 media to reach the masses. It is our top choice to increase our brand and product visibility to the public.
With TV Connect, I have seen a really good results from my business. I'm so excited winning this grand prize. Surely we want to carry on with partnership with Mediacorp and TV Connect.
Harness the power of Mediacorp with TV Connect. Enjoy seminar-only offer packages and turn our audience into your customers. Register online or call 6305-4098 today.
Good morning. You're watching First Look Asia live from our brand new studio right here at One North in Singapore. We said goodbye to our old home at Caldecott Broadcast Centre last week.
It was a tearjerker.
It was, wasn't it?
A bittersweet moment. But we're really happy with our new home. And we know Yvonne Chan loves this new place as well. Yvonne.
Yes, I do. I have a bird's eye view from where I'm standing at right now. I can see the entire newsroom and it's huge and all these screens flashing with the latest news. I love it. You guys look great though on this new set too.
Oh, thanks.
You're
So do you.
so kind.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to tell me I look good too.
You always look fantastic.
Oh, thank you, Lance.
And you always
Brownie points
have
for you.
And you have stories from news sites in the region.
Indeed, I do. Now, a report out in Seoul says North Korea has been reinforcing its cyber warfare capabilities, and its number of professional hackers is estimated to have risen to 7,700. North Korea currently has 1,700 well-trained troops belonging to 7 hacking organizations under the ruling Workers' Party as well as the Korean People's Army. The North is also believed to be operating about 10 cyber warfare support organizations, which employ about 6,000 professional hackers. And next, let's head to the Susukino district in Japan, once home to more than 300 geishas. Today, only 10 remain. The Asahi Shimbun reports that a large number of companies and individuals have come to the rescue to help prevent the geisha culture in Hokkaido from dying out. An association has been set up to nurture young geisha as well as to promote the traditional entertainment business. The association's initial goal is to recruit and develop a few young geisha by bearing part of the costs for the expensive kimono as well as fund their training expenses for singing and dancing. And in Thailand, a Scottish Muay Thai boxer was found dead on Sunday wearing a heavy sweatsuit. The Bangkok Post says police speculate that the boxer might have died from a heat stroke, and he was identified as Jordan Donald. His trainer told officers that the Scot went out with heavy clothing to try and shed 3 kilograms so that he could meet the 61 kg limit for a bout on Sunday. Doctors believed he may have suffered a shock to his system due to severe dehydration from jogging in the scorching sun. Well, you know, Lance, Teresa, it brings you to this point where you think, how far should you go when it comes to training for a sport? Because Jordan was only 22 years old, and reports say he was trying to lose 3 kilograms in a day. I mean, that's not achievable.
Yeah, that's close to impossible, I think. I'm not sure why he did something like that. Whether he had medical help or advice that this was possibly just too difficult to do, I don't know what to say here.
Well, a lot of people, well, I've seen people at the gym at least, they wear these very thick sweatshirts and they're on the treadmill, and the idea is it will help burn more calories.
Yeah.
Other people who do it, I've asked them and they say, it hides parts of my body I'm working on. I want it to be a surprise. I can put my phone in the pockets or earbuds, and also if they're germophobic, if they have the sweatshirt, it protects them from what may be at the gym. But
you normally get boxers and wrestlers maybe going up a kg or coming down a kg, and that's when they sweat it out or just maybe have a bit more food. But 3 kgs, that's really
too extreme. And jogging in 37 degrees Celsius, yeah, you know how hot that is. So definitely not advisable. And before, I mean, a reminder to our viewers as well, before you embark on any exercise regime, please consult a health professional.
Yeah, we always say that, don't we?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. We'll
thanks,
see you
guys.
tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Now, another story that's also making news this morning, a medical scandal in India. At least 12 children have fallen ill, and their parents claim their kids were injected with expired antibiotics.
The children in Gandhi General Hospital in Hyderabad developed shivers, nausea, and fever a few hours after the injections. As their conditions worsened, all of them were shifted to the hospital's intensive care unit. Now, according to local media reports, 2 staff nurses at the hospital have been suspended over this incident.
Senior state health officials have reportedly started an inquiry too.
जी इंजेक्शन दिलाने के बाद कितनी देर के बाद उनको जाड़ा आने लगा और ये हिस्सा फूल गया था, और फिर उसके बाद 8 साढ़े 8 तक उल्टी करने लगे। बस उसके बाद फिर तबीयत बहुत ही खराब होने लगी। फिर हम नीचे डॉक्टर करने लग गए। ये फिर पढ़ के बोलने लगे कि इंजेक्शन जो दे रहे ना डेट होगा सो दिए बोल के बोले।
Popular UK sandwich chain Pret a Manger has come under fire. This after an offer to pay teenagers in sandwiches for work experience.
Yeah, the chain has since said it would pay interns an hourly rate after members of the public threatened a boycott. Pret a Manger is said to be preparing itself for a potential staffing crisis after Brexit. Now, over 60% of its workforce come from European Union countries. And this reminds me of a story, Lance, that we covered last week around an Australian supermarket.
I remember that.
Yeah, where they said, work for us for free for 4 hours, we'll give you pizza.
I remember that.
I know.
Look, you know, if you're putting in the hours, you should be paid. And it's not like this company is struggling with not making money. Let's take a look at what some people are tweeting right here.
Edward Hardy saying Pret may have said they'll now pay teenage interns, but that's not the point. They tried to make them work for free food. That's shameful.
It is pretty shameful, I reckon. And this one, see, like we were talking about, the chain made something like 676 million in turnover, and it's aiming to solve its staffing crisis by asking teenagers to work for free.
Who does
Seriously?
that? Nobody will work for free. Sally saying just pay these 16 to 18-year-olds the £4 an hour they are entitled to. It's less than the RRP of one of your salads.
Yeah, the
it's cheaper.
recommended retail
I've eaten
price.
there. It is pricey.
I mean, look, £4 an hour for under 18s and closer to £6 for 18 to 20-year-olds. It's something that they should be doing, but unfortunately they don't want to. But they've reneged, right? They've said that they will now pay these kids because of the backlash from a lot of people on social media going online and saying this is just wrong.
The situation did escalate very quickly, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, at least they're saying they're paying the kids now, which is top news.
Thumbs up from Lance.
Yeah. Your thoughts, share with us on Twitter. Remember to use the hashtag #FirstLookAsia. Should you work for free for work experience, or should you just be paid like everyone else? Tell us what you think.
For a short break. Time's flying by this morning.
It is indeed.
Business news is straight ahead. Toshiba's troubled U.S. nuclear unit looks at filing for bankruptcy protection. That report with Adam Bakhtiar is coming up.
There's a very real energy in the country, a sense that now, more than ever, we have to reinvent ourselves for the future.
Singapore Tonight keeps you up to date with this rapid and relentless, really, pace of development.
So every night we give you a wrap of the day's happenings, but it's more than just reports on government policies and business numbers.
What our seasoned journalists do is that they shed light on the issues that you really care about, because we speak to the newsmakers who are going to help you to better understand events that are changing our world. But not only that, how they're changing the lives of ordinary people like you and me, and helping us make informed decisions that could perhaps change the way we live.
Viewers can expect a fresh new look, fresh new perspectives on the issues, as well as exciting new digital elements that have never been seen before on Singapore News.
We made a choice to add on Okinawa.
Swissôtel Hotels and Resorts is from Switzerland, a country known for big mountains and equally high standards of living. No matter where in the world we go, we ensure that our Swiss quality of life comes with us. That's why each one of our properties is created with sustainability in mind. Swissôtel, live it well. Channel News Asia is available in Swissôtel Hotels and Resorts across Asia.
Good morning. Welcome back to First Look Asia. If you've just joined us, welcome also to our new studio here at One North in Singapore. Here's a quick update on the stories we're tracking this morning too. Now, a military parade underway in Myanmar's capital of Naypyidaw. It's a celebration of the country's 72nd Armed Forces Day. It's the first since the National League for Democracy took power last year. It's being closely watched, in particular for the absence or presence of the state councillor Aung San Suu Kyi.
A decision on what to do with the remains of North Korean citizen Kim Jong-nam is still anticipated as Malaysian authorities keep up discussions with Pyongyang. It's widely believed the remains were moved out of the mortuary and brought to a crematorium on Sunday ahead of religious rites.
Time for your business updates. We have with us Mr. Adam Bakhtiar in the middle of our newsroom. Adam, Toshiba trying to ease the pain somehow.
Yeah, and Lance, there has certainly been quite a bit of pain since Toshiba, of course, saga first blew up. Now the company is looking, or has some respite now, desperate, of course, to ease the financial troubles from its troubled U.S. nuclear unit. Now, a report by Japan's Nikkei Review says that Westinghouse Electric could file for bankruptcy protection in the U.S. by this Tuesday. Westinghouse will reportedly seek a meeting later today with American utilities and other stakeholders to discuss the filing. Toshiba directors will then meet to approve it before the end of the financial year this Friday. Westinghouse has plunged the parent Toshiba into a financial crisis as the company faces more than $6 billion in impairment charges. Taking a look at how Toshiba shares are trading up in Tokyo this morning, they're moving in line in tandem with their U.S. listing, currently higher by around 0.8% in the context of a much weaker market as Tokyo kicks off trade on this Monday morning following a much stronger Japanese yen. Well, expansion is the name of the game for ride-hailing giant Grab. The Singapore-based company recently drove into Myanmar, taking a lead over rival Uber. It's currently planning to raise more than $1.5 billion in fresh funding, with Japan's SoftBank among some of the potential investors. Channel News Asia's Valerie Tan takes a deeper look at Grab's expansion with the company's president.
For us in Southeast Asia, we believe that the core use case that will drive mobile payments is transportation. We will become the region's first mobile-first payment company in this region, with a focus on mobile payments and ultimately credit to our community of drivers and passengers. And the real objective here is to really bring the benefits of modern banking along with the efficiencies and the safety that comes along with that. Over 90% of the transactions in this region is paid in cash. When you further look at the penetration of banking, less than 3 people out of every 10 have access to modern banking accounts. We launched our GrabPay system in December last year.
Okay.
We've seen massive growth.
Myanmar is your first market expansion in 3 years. What took you so long?
I think in the world that we operate in, keep in mind that we operate in 6, now 7 countries, and each country requires complete dedication to provide the best solution possible. We have just launched our initial trial services in Myanmar, and we will use this period of time to really better understand the local problems and the local solutions required for that country. I think the initial field trial we will run for 1 or 2 months and then decide the right strategy for that market.
What are your business projections for Myanmar?
Today we have now roughly 70% market share across the entire region of Southeast Asia, which is now the 7 countries that we operate in. If you look at our business on our busiest days, we are now providing rides for over 2 million rides per day across the region. Indonesia is still our largest market, and in Indonesia we're now doing 1 million rides per day in that country, which makes us 20% larger than the next closest competitor in ride sharing. So Q1 has been an amazing period of growth for us. I think Myanmar will follow that line of growth, and we see a massive opportunity in Myanmar.
Well, trains are one of the oldest forms of travel around the world, but technology is quickly changing the likes of the locomotive. In our first of our week-long series, Melissa Goh speaks to the man behind the Hyperloop that boasts of being the way of the future.
He's a man with a plan, and he wants the world to get on board with it. And that's why Bebop Gresta, the Italian-American head of Hyperloop Transportation Technologies, was making waves at the recent Global Entrepreneur Conference in Kuala Lumpur. What he's selling is the idea that Hyperloop is revolutionary and will one day change how people and goods move from one place to another at airline speeds, but for the price of a bus ticket. And he says it's energy efficient and safe to boot.
We are designing safety levels that are 10 times
more efficient. We are traveling at the speed of sound, but very near to what the airplanes does right now. But you're not flying and subjecting the capsule to all the variables that an airplane has. You are in an enclosed system, protected, monitored. You can actually predict everything about the capsule, and nothing can be in the middle. You can't have a cow stuck in the middle of the rail. You cannot derail the capsule into a building, and you have the entire system, in case of emergency, can stop in 6.4 seconds. We can seal the tube, the section of the tube where the capsule stops, and evacuate the people through the emergency doors or through the pylon.
Bebop says that pylon is built to withstand tremendous pressure, the equivalent of a magnitude 6.2 earthquake, and he can't wait to prove his critics wrong by testing the system out, and most likely in Abu Dhabi first and India after that. HTT has signed an agreement to undertake feasibility studies from Abu Dhabi to Al Ain, a 170-kilometer journey that currently takes about 2 hours by road, but will take less than 12 minutes on a Hyperloop. In December, India announced that Hyperloop could be the answer to its transport woes. A feasibility study is being conducted for a line from Mumbai to Pune.
We always fear something that we don't know, or we don't have the tools to understand. But now we have it. We have the tools. We have the science that can actually prove and show that it's doable. And we're going to do it. Change happens, if you want it or not.
So how does Hyperloop work? Well, it involves thrusting a pod-like vehicle through a vacuum tube at a high speed of up to 1,200 kilometers per hour, faster than planes.
Now, Mr. Bebop Cresta said he has held several discussions with authorities from Malaysia and Indonesia on the possibility of conducting similar feasibility studies here in Southeast Asia.
Bebop says he can get Hyperloop up and running with the first passenger on board in just over 3 years. That's once he gets approval from the state. Currently, there are some 800 professionals from 40 countries working on this Hyperloop system. Using crowdsourcing method, he's managed to pull together investment of $100 million in turn for stock options. Melissa Goh, Channel News Asia, Kuala Lumpur.
I wouldn't mind that being in operation right now to cut the travelling time. Well, those are your business updates for now, but we have so much more coming your way on Asia Business First at 9 a.m. this morning. On the agenda today, Chinese oil giant Sinopec posts its first profit gain in 3 years. The state-owned firm got a boost from cheaper crude prices and strong performance from its refining and chemical units. And we'll also take a look at the tough economic challenges for Hong Kong's new chief executive, Carrie Lam. More on how the city's sky-high property prices, the disparity between the rich and the poor, and slowing economic growth are just some of the big headaches for Lam to, of course, handle. That's coming up this morning on Asia Business First at 9 a.m. For now, it's back to the studio with Teresa and Lance.
Thank you so much, Adam. Ahead on First Look Asia this Monday morning, taking over the industry one toy brick at a time. Next up, Lego's lead designer talks innovation, creativity, and courage. You don't want to miss it.
Some traditional food offers a taste of history.
The Sultan of Johor traveled to Italy. He get the palace chef to do up a dish using spaghetti. They come out with laksa.
Sadly, some are near the last order. But they're finding ways to keep these culinary traditions going. Singapore Food Stories. Tonight, exclusively on Channel News Asia.
Asia's place in the world has changed phenomenally. Now everyone's watching this region, studying its daily developments.
New policies, innovations, crises. And at the same time, there's a sense of dynamism, a region rapidly changing.
It's no longer Asia reacting to Wall Street. What happens here very much impacts the West as well.
So Primetime Asia does the pulse check.
It's not just about informing you, it's about analyzing the impact, why something happens and what it means.
And we have the best people doing it, an extensive network of correspondents who live, breathe, and understand these issues.
This is where Asia comes together. Primetime Asia, daily on Channel News Asia.
How are
are nursing homes in Singapore providing holistic care?
What I really want is to keep them meaningfully engaged.
We've got to give our residents a reason to look forward to the next day.
How are nursing homes redefining elder care?
I hope our nursing homes can become truly like their home.
Find out on the final episode of Aging Well, Friday on Channel News Asia.
Brought to you by Agency for Integrated Care.
What's easy?
Going on a holiday. Bye.
What's not?
Waking up.
What's easy?
Winning cash.
Mother, it's back!
It's Class 95's Spin and Win.
Tune into Class 95 from 27th March for your chance to win cash or holidays.
It's Class 95's Spin and Win.
This distribution business is already a household name in East Malaysia. Now, the successor to the Kim Teck Chong Company is all set to expand its portfolio.
I remember a lot of my friends or even business associates would say that, I better not mess with you, man.
Find out how Dexter Lau pummels his way through the competition on The Successors, Tuesday on Channel News Asia.
Maybank Wealth Management. Help turn your inspiration into reality.
Good morning. Welcome back to First Look Asia. Danish toy maker Lego is a household name for many, of course. Its iconic plastic bricks, the building blocks for hours of creative play.
But it wasn't always smooth sailing for the 85-year-old business. For one, it almost buckled under bankruptcy.
That forced the company to reinvent itself through research and innovation to keep up with the way children play and the ever-evolving consumer as well.
Kids still love it, yeah. So the lead designer behind the new Brick Heads collection was in Singapore and gave Shahida Othman a glimpse into the colorful world of Lego figurines.
Say hello to 12 well-loved cartoon characters and superheroes. From Batman and Captain Jack Sparrow to Disney's classic couple Belle and the Beast. These icons are the faces of Lego's latest collection, Brickheads.
It actually started in the design office where we have a graphic designer, Austin Carlson, and once he designed a little elephant in this sort of shape to offer a friend of his as a little gift. And everybody loved it so much that they started making their own little characters in that same shape and form. And that's what actually started the Brickheads family.
Stacked in multicolored bricks, each toy stands at about 8 centimeters and comes with a square-shaped head. They may look uniform, but these pint-sized figures have a mind of their own.
So we have this 2x2 pink brick inside their heads, and internally we kind of refer to it as a little brain, so it's like they have a mind of their own and kind of connects them all. But then we have Captain Salazar. He's a zombie character, and because of that, we get to see a little bit of his brain, and he's a special one with a little green zombie-like brain.
Marcos Bessa is the man behind this new series. His previous creations include Lego Ghostbusters and Disney Castle, which won the Toy of the Year award at the recent New York Toy Fair. The 28-year-old Portuguese descent fulfilled his childhood dream when he was hired by Lego in 2010, but not before making a detour from a completely different sector.
Ever since I was a little kid, my #1 toy was Lego, and I spent hours and hours just building and taking apart and building new things, all kinds of different things. And to the point that I ended up telling my family and my teachers in school that I wanted to be a Lego maker. I didn't know what the job was, what it meant exactly, but I just wanted to be a Lego maker. I was studying actually computer engineering and computer sciences, so nothing to do with design or toy design, but the passion for Lego was always there.
Mr. Besser has kept the first set of Lego bricks he built as a sort of souvenir of how it all began.
It was a little scene that had a big square base plate with a